Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. The United Nations top panel of climate scientists is warning humans are consuming land and water resources at an unprecedented rate, with the climate crisis and biodiversity loss already threatening the food supply of hundreds of millions of people. In a report out today, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change warns without dramatic action, extreme weather and rising temperatures will turn even more fertile land into desert, shrinking the global food supply even as the world's population rises to more than 7.5 billion people. This is climate scientist, IPCC co-chair Valérie Masson-Delmotte.
We humans affect more than 70% of ice-free land. A quarter of this land is degraded. The way we produce food and what we eat contributes to the loss of natural ecosystems and declining biodiversity. When land is degraded, it reduces the soil's ability to take up carbon, and this exacerbates climate change. In turn, climate change exacerbates land degradation in many different ways. Today, 500 million people live in areas that experience desertification.
The IPCC recommends dramatic reductions in greenhouse gas emissions, along with more efficient farming methods and a shift in diets away from dairy and meat, which produce vast amounts of methane and carbon dioxide while using large amounts of land. As President Trump visited victims of mass shootings in Dayton, Ohio, and El Paso, Texas Wednesday, federal agents swept through 7 poultry processing plants in Mississippi, arresting 680 people in one of the largest immigration raids in U.S. history. Video handed out to reporters by ICE shows agents entering factories, leading people out in plastic handcuffs, frisking them and loading them into buses. They were taken to a massive Mississippi National Guard hangar for processing. Outside the base, dozens of family members and supporters gathered, chanting, "Let them go." The mass arrests came on the first day of the school year, left scores of children traumatized, crying for their parents. Some children walked home from school only to find their doors locked and their family members missing. This is 11-year-old Magdalena Gomez-Gregorio speaking with Mississippi CBS affiliate WJTV.
Governments, please put your heart. Let my parents be free with everybody else, please. Don't leave the child with cryiness and everything. I need my dad for me. My dad didn't do nothing. He's not a criminal.
The arrests targeted chicken processing plants operated by Koch Foods, one of the largest poultry producers in the United States. Last year, Koch Foods paid out $3.75 million to settle an Equal Employment Opportunities Commission class action suit charging the company with sexual harassment, national origin and race discrimination and retaliation against Latino workers at one of its Mississippi plants. Labor activists say it's the latest raid to target factories where immigrant workers have organized unions, fought back against discrimination, or challenged unsafe and unsanitary conditions. President Trump visited Dayton, Ohio, and El Paso, Texas Wednesday in a politically polarizing trip that followed last weekend's mass shootings that killed a combined 32 people, including the Dayton gunman. During Trump's first stop in Ohio, he met with medical workers at Miami Valley Hospital, posing for a group photo, grinning with 2 thumbs up. Outside, hundreds of protesters accused Trump of stoking white supremacist violence, chanting, "Do something," and "Hate not welcome here." Later in the day, President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump toured El Paso's University Medical Center, where none of the 8 survivors still receiving treatment agreed to meet with the president. Trump did meet with law enforcement personnel at an El Paso Emergency Operations Center.
We had an amazing day. As you know, we left Ohio, and the love, the respect for the office of the presidency, I wish you could have been in there to see it.
As Trump arrived in Texas, thousands rallied to protest his racist rhetoric, linking it to a manifesto published by the alleged El Paso gunman who echoed Trump's language about a, quote, invasion of immigrants. Joining the protests was former Texas Congress member and Democratic presidential hopeful Beto O'Rourke, who represented El Paso until early last year in Congress, early this year, and his successor, Democratic Congressmember Veronica Escobar.
We will not stop. We will not stop resisting the hate, resisting the bigotry, resisting the racism.
Congressmember Escobar tweeted she had declined Trump's invitation to join him on a tour of El Paso because, quote, I refuse to be an accessory to his visit. I refuse to join without a dialogue about the pain his racist and hateful words and actions have caused our community and country, unquote. Meanwhile, El Paso police arrested a Trump supporter Wednesday as he sat outside an organizing space for immigrant activists wearing blue latex gloves, brandishing a knife. Organizers with Casa Carmelita say police also recovered a loaded gun, ammunition, and a bag of white powder from the man's truck, which sported a large banner portraying Donald Trump as Rambo and bumper stickers for far-right conspiracy website InfoWars. The man appears to be 21-year-old Thomas Bartram, who was profiled earlier on Wednesday by the Washington Examiner. Bartram told the paper he was a, quote, open carry kind of guy at political rallies. A photo accompanying the article shows Bartram making what appears to be a white nationalist hand gesture. Ahead of his trips to Dayton and El Paso, President Trump sought Wednesday to lay equal blame for deadly violence on white supremacists and the anti-fascist movement known as Antifa.
I am concerned about the rise of any group of hate. I don't like it. Any group of hate. I am, whether it's white supremacy, whether it's any other kind of supremacy, whether it's Antifa, whether it's any group of hate. I am very concerned about it, and I'll do something about it.
Democratic presidential candidates are linking Trump's racist rhetoric to massacres by white nationalists in Texas, California, and elsewhere. Senator Elizabeth Warren said Wednesday Trump gave white supremacists aid and comfort. Beto O'Rourke said Trump made it very clear that he's a white supremacist. Former Vice President Joe Biden said Trump had aligned himself with the darkest forces in this nation. And New Jersey Senator Cory Booker spoke out during a visit to the Emmanuel AME Church in Charleston, South Carolina, where in 2015 a white nationalist gunman killed 9 African-American worshipers.
White supremacy allows political leaders to promise to build the wall while not building hospitals, schools, or infrastructure critical for the success of all Americans.
Poverty Law Center has linked a State Department employee to violent and hateful white nationalist messages posted online under a pseudonym. The SPLC's Hate Watch project found evidence that U.S. Bureau of Energy Resources Foreign Affairs Officer Matthew Q. Gibert and his wife made regular posts glorifying Nazi soldiers, denying the Holocaust, advocating for ethnic cleansing, spreading anti-Semitic and anti-black conspiracy theories, and glorifying mass murderer Dylann Roof. Gibert also allegedly hosted well-known members of the white nationalist movement at his home in Virginia. Fox News TV personality Tucker Carlson's under fire for insisting white supremacy is a hoax and, quote, not a real problem in America. Carlson made the remarks on his program Tuesday evening.
The whole thing is a lie. If you were to assemble a list, a hierarchy of concerns, of problems this country faces, where would white supremacy be on the list? Right up there with Russia, probably. It's actually not a real problem in America.
Last month, media campaigners launched a campaign to pressure advertisers to boycott Tucker Carlson's show after he launched a racist attack on Minnesota Congressmember Ilhan Omar. Carlson has previously said immigration makes America poorer, dirtier, and more divided, and in 2006 called Iraqis semi-literate primitive monkeys. Amnesty International has issued a travel warning for visitors to the United States, citing the threat of gun violence. In a statement Wednesday, Amnesty warned travelers to, quote, be extra vigilant at all times and be wary of the ubiquity of firearms among the population. Avoid places where large numbers of people gather, especially cultural events, places of worship, schools and shopping malls. Exercise increased caution when visiting local bars, nightclubs and casinos, Amnesty said. The website Splinter is reporting new details about the sibling of Dayton, Ohio shooter Connor Betts, who was the first victim in Sunday morning's massacre that left 9 people dead and 27 wounded. The sibling was initially identified as Connor Betts' sister, Megan Betts, but a friend told Splinter Betts was a transgender man who went by the name Jordan Kofer, used male pronouns, and appeared to be out to only a handful of people and possibly not even his family. It's not clear whether the gunman knew about Kofer's gender identity or whether it played a role in the shooting. In a statement, the National Center for Transgender Equality said, quote, mass gun violence is an epidemic in this country and deserving of swift and immediate action by lawmakers at all levels of government. We join the nation in mourning for every community impacted by gun violence, they said. In 2019 alone, at least 10 trans people have been murdered in the U.S. Also Wednesday, CNN reported the mother of the alleged El Paso shooter called police weeks before the shooting because she was concerned he had an AK-type firearm. According to family attorneys, the mother of the El Paso shooter did not identify herself or her son and was transferred to a public safety officer who told her that, based on her description, her son was legally allowed to purchase an assault rifle. Puerto Rico's former Justice Secretary Wanda Vazquez was sworn in as governor Wednesday, becoming the 3rd person to hold the office in less than a week. This came just hours after the Puerto Rican Supreme Court overturned the swearing-in of Vazquez's predecessor, Pedro Pierluisi, who had been appointed as Puerto Rico's Secretary of State by disgraced Governor Ricardo Rosselló, who stepped down last Friday amidst weeks of massive protests calling for his ouster. The Puerto Rican Senate sued to block Pierluisi's appointment because he was sworn in without the Senate's confirmation. Wanda Vazquez is also a member of the ruling political party and an ally of Rosselló. On Wednesday, Vazquez said she would accept the position, although it's unclear for how long. She has been accused of ignoring allegations of corruption within the Rosselló administration. In the weeks leading up to her rise to governorship, there were mounting protests demanding her resignation. In Afghanistan, the Taliban has claimed responsibility for a massive bomb attack in the capital, Kabul, Wednesday that killed 14 people and injured 145 others. Wednesday morning's truck bomb explosion tore through a police station, leveling the building in a nearby Army recruitment center and blowing out windows more than a kilometer away from the blast site. The latest attack came as the United Nations said 1,500 Afghan civilians were killed or wounded by fighting in July, making it the deadliest month in at least 2 years. This comes as U.S. officials are continuing talks in Qatar with the Taliban aimed at bringing a halt to fighting in Afghanistan, which is now in its 19th year, the longest war in U.S. history. And in Massachusetts, Boston's police department under fire for destroying the wheelchairs of homeless residents as part of Operation Clean Sweep, a campaign targeting Boston's poorest citizens. Images posted on social media show officers ordering homeless people away from Boston Medical Center before loading 3 wheelchairs into the back of a garbage truck and crushing them. A local activist, Cassie Hurd, tweeted, "It was heartbreaking to speak with Jared, who lost not only his wheelchair, but everything he owns that he keeps in his backpack. He was hit by a car last Tuesday." City of Boston Mayor Marty Walsh, "This is inhumane and cruel," they wrote. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman.
And I'm Nermeen Sheikh. Welcome to our listeners and viewers around the country and around the world.